sujeto? Oh.
You guys changed the format? No? I thought you used to have the year and go on the top.
Yeah, you can blame him. The culprit.
What did I do? Wait, did you have the door prompt? If he comes, let me. It was
What is it
unlocked.
saying?
It's unlocked. It is unlocked.
I didn't change
Yeah.
anything.
The heading of this,
No,
capital
I just said
improvement.
your format changed.
No.
I thought yours was here.
No.
It's always like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Chairman in the house.
Right in the ball.
Mira, Juan, ahora fue que lo vi. I'm gonna send it to him by email.
That's why I thought we. She goes, no, because the kids are there. We usually throw them out. Never stopped us from throwing them out.
Hello,
What?
It's in your
welcome.
Zachariah,
Where's the what?
the project. That's it.
Which one?
The one that we're talking about.
These two, either one.
Oh, it's either one, we haven't decided?
Yeah. This is already on there, which is the one that I told you.
Yeah, but then you had two pickleball courts. I thought you wanted to stick those
No,
in.
yeah, because we're gonna redo. We're gonna reconfigure before we resurface to include the pickleballs, which is what we thought.
You think that will be a good project?
We have it already.
The pickleball?
Oh, you're gonna pay for it?
Resurfacing, the resurfacing.
You're gonna pay for it with the money you already have?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Sí,
Sure,
eso
that
no
makes
es
sense.
mucho. What about a batting cage? A real batting cage?
Yeah, but we don't have it in here. We gotta go with
We
either
have
one
to
of
go
these
with
two.
these. Yeah.
It's
You
on
really
the
have to
Cooper Park
go,
or the rec center.
or else you score bad. Y también the batting cage without anything else.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
not-
not, it doesn't score high in the zone.
Yeah.
Or we gotta do them with maybe some, that, ese más bien.
Oh, yeah, afterwards.
Yes. Ready.
Anytime you're ready.
All right, so I'm going to be calling the meeting to order. This is the City of West Miami Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, August 9th. The time is 6:06 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes, good evening. Ivan Chavez Jr., Commissioner and Recreation Committee Chair,
Here.
present. Miguel Casanova. Here. Ivan Chavez Sr. is not present. Alexander Diaz. Zachariah Evangelista. Marcos Lopez. And Maria Elena Salazar is excused. You have quorum.
Next item, please.
Item 2, Pledge of Allegiance.
We're going to have member Alex Diaz start us off with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item.
Item 3, Old Business, none this evening. Item 4, New Business. 4A, Overview of Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program for fiscal year 2023-2024 and the steps necessary before submitting an application.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For that, I'm going to call up our grant writer, Robert Ruano, to go over this for us.
Hello, good afternoon. Robert Ruano with EcoStrata Services. We're your grant writing company, and we've been working with you for several years. On this grant, we've received this grant actually. This is the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program. We received it several times for 3 parks now. Garden Club Park, for the rec center, and for Cooper Park. It's an annual program. As you saw in the description that we sent out, you can apply up to $200,000. A city can apply up to $200,000 with a $200,000 match. What we're going to be talking about today is for projects that are $50,000 or below, because those do not have a match, okay? And also to coincide with your opportunities, because to be honest, this program is great for bigger areas or more rural areas that have huge parks that you can put a lot of things in. But for us, it's kind of difficult once you've filled in all the areas, because in order to score high, when you're doing the multiple projects, you have to put in like 4 recreational facilities, 2 support facilities, which is like a fence or restrooms and stuff. And you just don't have a lot of room, to be honest, in the parks anymore, thankfully, because of grants like this that have given you, new playgrounds, new ball fields, new basketball courts, tennis courts, all sorts of things. Right now, as a matter of fact, Juan is working on some in the rec center based on FERDAP. Juan, I don't know if you, well, let me go to what the program is. So whenever you decide today, I think there's 2 elements that Juan wants to talk about for the rec center. And whatever you decide today, we will prepare the application to submit by August 31st, and hopefully it will be successful. We've done this a lot. We do this with a lot of cities too. So I have I don't think that you will not be successful in it, and it's just a matter for this group to come together and determine which project is more important that is on your capital plan. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chair, since we have not met for quite some time because of COVID and other, and all these restrictions that came with COVID, I think it would be a great opportunity to acquaint the members of the board with the existing projects that are in the pipeline now at the recreation center. Because you have to look at the landscape now of the recreation center to move forward and come up with new ideas for new projects. So I'd like to, if I may, turn it over to Juan. We have the weight room, actually, or the wellness center. That's work in progress right now, so he will walk you through that project so that we can get a visual idea of where this is all located and what we should be targeting moving forward. That is consistent with our capital improvement plan. So.
Thank you, Madam Manager. I want to say thank you to Mr. Ruano as well. I'll have some questions for you later, but appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right now, if you look at your table of capital projects, we have the construction of the 4,000 square foot gym and restrooms, which are one of the projects that's being funded by a $200,000 FERDAP match to our $200,000. It's a $400,000 FERDAP match there with our money, and then the $800,000 for the new building that we're putting in to do the gymnasium slash wellness center. That goes off the back end of the existing multi-purpose building. The existing terrace, weight room, and restrooms are all being demolished, and that building will extend to the west to almost where the racquetball court is, where the open racquetball court is. It stops short of the enclosed racquetball court. That building will have the new bathrooms in there, plus the 4,000 square feet of exercise area for the gymnasium. It will have storefront windows overlooking the basketball court, so that anybody inside could see outside and anybody outside could see inside. Aside from that, we are also redoing this year with that $200,000 grant is the replacement of the lights on the LED lights on the basketball courts and on the baseball field court and tennis courts. All those lights are being replaced to LEDs. before we get to the LED lights, we also have a $50,000 FERDAP grant for the resurfacing of the tennis courts, which, if you look at the plan, there is a restructure of the existing area plus the center where the trees are right now, that unites the two courts and creates a couple of junior courts and a pickleball court, all in that area. So we'll have a total of 5 courts in that area once it's completed. Aside from that, in your pictures that you have the existing exercise equipment that's at the recreation center next to the playground, and the existing exercise equipment that's at Cooper Park. The Cooper Park one is about 2 years older than the one at the recreation center, so I would recommend to pursue a replacement of that structure, whether you want to go with exercise equipment or whether you want to go with a playground for that area. That's up to you. Both will score high on the FERDAP grant.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Perna. Can we open up for discussion now
Sure.
amongst the board members? I noticed the pickleball courts. It's awesome. I was gonna actually bring that up. So this is already something.
Contemplated.
Okay, perfect. What do you guys think about that with the new design of the tennis courts?
So we're gonna have 3 tennis court and 2 pickleball.
Yes, you'll have 2 full-size tennis courts, 1 junior-sized tennis court, and 2 pickle courts.
That's at the same area that we have there now, or
I'm sorry?
the area?
Yeah, the only thing we're taking is the landscape of those 2 trees that are in the center and the electric poles that are in the center. We're moving them to the edge.
You're not gonna remove the barricade, right? Is that leave it, is that staying or not?
We have no plan to remove it at this point.
For me personally, with the Cooper Park equipment, I would like to see exercise equipment there because we already have playgrounds in that park for smaller children and for older children. So I'd like to see updated workout equipment for that area as well. Has there ever been consideration to maybe have a roof over this? Similar, like a cover over that area?
That would have to be under another FERDAP grant or as a bigger project with an auxiliary of the shade structure.
Yeah, we could potentially do a shade structure and it would qualify. Remember, one thing I didn't mention, that FERDAP is outdoor recreation areas, so you can't really enclose a place and they won't fund it, but a shade structure would potentially, if you can fit it somehow in the cost of it, or just do it outside of it. They really won't care if you do it outside of the 50,000 that we asked for.
Okay, perfect.
But we could go for 100 because the last shade structure cost us 54,000.
Yeah.
So we
Yes,
would
it's
have to go
very
for 100
expensive.
and match.
That's the shade structure that's there now over the sandy area, correct?
That was $54,000.
I mean, that's much larger than what would take to cover this area, I think, but
But
it is
they're pricey.
yeah. Okay.
They're pricey. Now, can we go for 2 applications? It wouldn't,
And remember, the shade structure would be a supporting.
Right.
It wouldn't be a recreational facility, so you'd have to do it as part of one application.
But at that point, we would be doing a 200,000.
$50,000?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
The exercise equipment that. Buy with the $50,000 grant?
can you turn on your mic so we can have a record?
Juan, that money, the $50,000 will cover the exercise equipment for this area or not?
Pretty close.
Very close?
Yeah.
So the
We'll
city
have
have to
to
match?
go out
the-
for bids, but
the city
pretty
ha-
close.
The city have to put the difference?
Well,
In
yeah,
a $50,000 grant, yes.
no.
No, it's no match.
No
I'm
match
sorry.
for 50,000.
But if it goes over, we have to put the difference, right?
Yes. Now, all these projects that we have just mentioned are being matched by impact fee money.
Right.
But that well is running dry. We have a development that has been approved by the commission, but we have no idea when that project will start unless,
Not
you
until
know.
they submit plans.
Exactly. They have to submit now detailed plans because they have been approved. And obviously, the impact fees come from the developments that have been built along the perimeter of the city. So I caution the board to stay conservative with this grant cycle because, as with all the projects, there are cost overruns, and the only way we can address those is by using impact fees as of now. We have reserves. We have reserves to the tune of a little bit over $300,000 for the recreation center. However, we have a wellness center in the making. Now you build it, you have to buy the equipment that goes in there, and you have to, obviously, we have to sustain it over time. So these are expensive projects, and we have to caution you that our city is still small, and our revenues are very capped and limited. So I just want to, I mean, I would love to see a lot of projects. I just caution you on your recommendations to the commission because of the money issues involved.
So being that the deadline for the grants for FERDAP is August 31st, we already have one FERDAP grant that's pending, right? The restrooms, we can have up to 3.
Correct.
So this meeting, I guess to prioritize, we'll discuss the other 2 that we want to apply for to get to that 3, correct?
No,
No.
we have two.
We have 2
We have the $200,000 FERDAP, and we have the $50,000 for the tennis.
for the
court.
tennis court. Okay, so we're discussing, we're trying to figure out what the third's going to be then in this meeting.
What your new application is gonna look like.
Right.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Which
So
is that-
everyone understands that. We have the tennis courts, and then we have the restrooms that are going to be part of the gymnasium. So,
But is that money already budgeted?
Yes.
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 Yes. And
So-
it's been encumbered now, because we have actually awarded a contract to a contractor. So it's been awarded, with the exception of the lights,
Right.
correct? The
Perfect.
lights are still, they have to go out to bid.
Yeah, and just FYI, I don't know if you mentioned it, but it is a reimbursement grant. So they have to spend all the money, complete the project, submit the paperwork, then we get the money back.
So, Madam Manager, following your recommendation, which I agree with as well, trying to stay away from the matching, so we're staying below the 50,000. I do like the idea of the exercise equipment at the Cooper Park, if we can get that done for the under 50,000. And
The shade structure, you
No,
mean?
just
The equipment.
The replacement of the equipment.
the replacement of
At
the
Cooper.
equipment,
With exercise equipment
exercise
Yeah.
equipment.
instead of the, what we have there now.
And would it be the similar equipment, or are we looking at different
It'll
options?
be something more modern.
More modern.
Yeah, we gotta look at the new concepts in terms of aerobics, and we gotta stay very low-key because that is an unsupervised park, and we wanna limit our opportunities for liability because of it's unmanned. And
Right.
so we'll look at what new concepts are out there and give the commission a recommendation.
There's other cities that have parks like that with exercise machines that
Yes.
you can copy.
Ours has stood the test of,
Yeah.
withstood the test of time. It's been there for a while, and it's held up very nicely.
The reason I mentioned the shade structure, obviously, for those that are working out there, so they have some reprieve from the sunlight, but also for the equipment to maintain its
Correct.
lifespan, so the money spent now could preserve it long-term as well.
The idea is to put all the equipment on this area here or throughout the park?
And we may go back to, Commissioner Blanes back, some time ago, wanted it along the trail. So if that's, something that, falls within the 50,000, we may look at that. We'll bring that back to the commission once we've, acquired, more information on that.
So are we all in agreement to focus our attention on this for that third application?
What else can we use $50,000 for?
Right, exactly.
Very limited.
Right.
Sorry.
So we'll call a vote on that item, and then we'll open up discussion to see what other ideas we want to look into moving forward.
Do you feel, and this is just food for thought, do you all feel that maybe we can apply for the equipment and the shade structure if we're gonna follow the same pattern that we have now? Obviously, if we break it up and put it into sections, you don't need a shade structure.
Right.
So it's up to you what the recommendation, what you feel is gonna be the best fit for that park.
Mr. Ruano, you were saying that the higher chances of us getting the grant would be the 50,000 or less. So if we package the shade structure, it goes into the 25% grantee share.
I'll tell you, typically the $50,000 grants just get approved, they're the small ones. And then they put they put it in a small category, and then you have a larger category, which is the higher up to 200,000. And then those are kind of ranked kind of separately. The 50,000, because there's no match and whatever, it's that threshold, it just kind of goes through. But, I mean, realistically, if you had, would it score worse? No, because you have what they call a recreational facility, which is the exercise equipment, and then you have a support facility, which is a structure. I mean, it is a concern, I mean, to me, spending $54,000 on a shade structure, I mean, I didn't realize they were that expensive, but, that's gonna take up, quite a bit.
So the options are less than 50,000 would more than likely get the exercise equipment. If we bunch that together with the shade
Right.
structure, that might get denied and we end up with
You
the
might,
exercise
you might
equipment.
score a little bit differently because you're in a different pool, realistically, yeah.
So do we want to go get the exercise equipment and then later focus on the shade structure, but at least get what we have in hand potentially?
Yes.
Yes, that sounds like the route we should take.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So,
But just to be clear from what you said earlier, this grant wouldn't be an avenue for that funded separately at a later point for the shade structure.
No, you'd have to, you couldn't go back to this grant and apply for the shade structure alone. You couldn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
We would have to do something else.
We
Yeah,
don't-
you'd use it in
right.
impact fees or somewhere else
Exactly.
somehow to pay for it.
Exactly. We can use the impact fee, well, and remember something, this is a new grant cycle that begins now, it goes through committee levels in Tallahassee, finally goes to the legislative process with our lawmakers in Tallahassee. And if approved, it's signed into law and it becomes effective July 1st of next year, of 2023. We don't get a contract back from them probably until this time next year, close to September. So by then, hopefully, we'll have new impact fee coming in from the new project, and we can actually fund the shade structure out of our impact fee fund without having to go and wait for another grant cycle.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, just, so like I said, I do work with other cities, and one of the things that is a lot cheaper alternative is just to plant trees in the right place to ultimately shade that. And I think
Exactly.
he has been doing that with live oaks that are around that, because I've used that PlayStation, that exercise, and the live oaks, once they start maturing, and you have nice shade for that area, it's a lot cheaper. Right? Even though it takes a little longer.
Yeah.
all right, perfect. I mean, a bird in the hand, right? So we already have the exercise equipment that Mr. Ruano says more than likely will get approved because it's under the 50,000. So you guys want to open up for a vote? Madam Clerk, can you call a
Can-
vote?
Does anybody
Or is it just-
want to proffer a motion to go ahead and approve the replacement of the what?
Cooper Park.
Cooper Park Exercise Fitness Center, if you would, fitness project, if you would.
So I need a
A
motion.
motion and a second, and then the clerk can call the vote.
Motion by Lopez,
Second.
second by
By Diaz?
Alex Diaz, and are all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Anybody against? No? So 5-0, motion passes.
So Madam Manager, now, is this the moment that we can start discussing future plans, future ideas?
You can, I mean, you were already, you have to
Item B is being pretty
recommend
much
then,
covered,
th-
right?
yes, these items are, you've already covered your next funding cycle for FERDAP as far as
Right.
we're concerned and Robert is concerned.
Right, which was the priority, and
Right,
now,
and then we're gonna report this to the commission and get them to approve a resolution instructing the Office of the City Manager to work with the grant writer and with our Director of Public Works in the grant submittal, in the application. You can, I mean, this is if
Good
the
of the
board,
order.
under the good of the order, bring up
What
some
you-
other recreational projects that you have in mind.
Madam Clerk,
Yes, item
next item.
5. Yes, item 5, good of the order.
So I have some ideas myself, but I want to open up to you guys to see if there's anything that you've wanted to bring to our parks, our rec center. Any ideas?
This is extremely minor, but there's been a rim that's been crooked at the basketball court for quite some time on the west side, the southern court. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's grants for that, but what can we do to get that fixed?
We'll get it replaced.
Okay, perfect. So I want to bring this up because it was discussed in the last commission meeting. I brought up the splash pads. So I wanted to see what you guys all thought about this. The splash pads, I don't have photos of it, but it's basically where the kids go and they push a button, water shoots out of the ground. They have them in Pinecrest Gardens and different areas, and I know a lot of our residents go down there to use them, or they go to the zoo. We discussed briefly having them at our rec center. John Michael's here, and he brought up a good point that you're going to have the kids going in and out of that and being wet and having to change throughout the day. So first, I want to see what you guys think about the splash pad, and also what locations you think might be best suited for it. I think that the kids here would really like it. I think the commission sounded favorable to it. A lot of our residents like the idea. You guys are a representation of our residents as well, so.
Where will you plan to have the splash?
So initially,
What park? What area?
initially when I thought about it was at Cooper Park, but it's not an enclosed park. Other areas have them where it's enclosed and you can kind of monitor who uses it. They actually charge a fee to use it. I like the idea of Cooper Park because it also brings a kind of artwork to the neighborhood, because they have these big mushrooms, different colors, where the water comes out of it. So I wanted to throw that idea out there. I personally really like it. I know that the kids will like it, so.
I could see it being a problem at the rec center,
Yeah,
having worked there
for
and
sure.
been there myself.
That's right.
Kids go in there that aren't supposed to be there, that could be an issue. But Garden Park, I don't know if there's the space for that one.
No, that's
it's
quite,
pretty tight,
that's a
right?
pretty small park.
Yeah.
So that's a more of a neighborhood park.
Yeah, it would have to be, if you consider it, would have to be at Cooper Park.
It would have to be Cooper Park, and we
And
would have
just,
to fence that
instead
in.
of creating a splash pad with a pool, just create a splash pad that's dry. There's different types of splash pads.
Like the one
Ones
at
that
the
don't
zoo.
accumulate the water, so it's always shooting out fresh water.
Right, there's no body of water there.
Right.
No drowning hazards or anything like that. And like I said, I think that personally I want to see a little more artwork in the neighborhood, and this is something that, it's something that the kids can use, and then it also brings something cool. You're driving down 16th Street, you see whatever it may be, giant fire hydrant, with water shooting out of it, a bunch of kids running around, so.
Is that going to be open to the public? I mean, what about the city, any liability with the city?
That would be open
That
to the
involves
public.
water and everything.
That would be open to the public.
I know.
Usually it has like a rubberized surface, so there's no
Right.
slipping and falling.
Right.
But it's a push type activation where it just shoots out a mist of water, not a big chunk of water, it's a mist of water. Kid gets wet and keeps running around.
Okay.
Just something to consider. There's different ideas that I have too. The pickleball is on there already, which is great. I think it's a great sport. A lot
Yes,
of
it
people are
is.
going to enjoy it. The racquetball area, we also discussed at the last commission meeting what to do with that area. Ideas as far as trying to repurpose it. Should we knock it down completely? And then if we did, what would we use in that area? So if we want to open that up to see what ideas you guys have. I know as a kid that was there, and some people use it, but it's very hot inside. It's not a big enough space to really use it for many other things, and it's taking up that area of a park that we can maybe utilize for something better.
Well, what is like the current usage?
John?
Behind yourself, John.
Good afternoon. Hi, Alex. How are you? Current usage, it's never really used much, but it's not really set up. There's only a time at night where people can use it. Once somebody's in there, nobody else is going to wait 3 hours or 2 hours to play. So You get your regular, you know, residents that use it, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. The tennis courts would be the same if it wasn't for the academy that's there, but not a lot of usage.
Yeah, so
So you say the tennis court and the racquetball pretty much use about the same?
If the academy wasn't there,
Yeah, no, forget about the academy, just regular residents,
the tennis court is used more, but not a ton more.
and not a lot more than.
Not a ton more.
I think with pickleball coming now, once we repurpose those tennis courts, there'll be a lot more people out there. And then as far as the racquetball exercise component, pickleball is gonna give you that same.
No, the tennis courts is used a ton because the academy's there, they have a bunch of kids, and then the people that do come from the outside, it is like a limited time that they're there because the academy is there, so it's always full. I'm just saying as far as outside people using it without us, it being rented, it's not, you know.
Can you see a better use for that area? Is there anything that you can think of being there?
It's a difficult area to, me personally, it's nostalgic for me, so I kind of like the building. We do need storage. I find that as a better, we can use it as a storage room. It'd have to be other things, but rather than knocking it down, because I can't see any use to knocking it down. Unless it interferes somewhat with the building plans or,
So, Mr. Pena, with storage there, we would still have to put a roof over it.
Correct.
Spend that money, which is one of the reasons why we didn't go through with upgrading that anyways, right?
Correct.
Right. The contract had to be negotiated to bring down the pricing, and we left that part of the work out.
Right.
And I've talked to John about, as well, about the possibility of beach volleyball. That, I don't know whether that would be an expensive proposition, but I do know for a fact, only because my daughter plays, she's a fan of volleyball, and they actually had to go down to the beach in specific areas of Miami Beach to play. They couldn't find a beach volleyball court to play, and there are leagues in Miami-Dade County that, that compete, and it's a good workout, I gotta tell you that much. So she actually spoke to me years ago. She says, Mom, you guys need to look into maybe finding an area. And I said, there's no area there unless we abate one of the tennis courts. So she said, it's an interesting concept. Keep it in mind because it is a recreation center, and it would be something that is perhaps not that much money to erect or to build out, and it's a great sport, and it will bring a lot of people together in leagues and competitions and whatnot. In that area, I don't know what else we could possibly use that area for other than a storage facility.
Well, I see people using that as a racquetball. I mean, I hate to see it go away. And how much money does it cost to fix
retrofit it?
Retrofit it?
We're talking about another, what, $60,000 or $70,000?
75.
No,
Yeah.
the proposal for enclosing it was 185.
$185 to enclose it.
What does that include in the closing?
It included the
roof?
the roof structure, and then the
AC.
package unit and the lights.
And, yeah. And the AC and the lights.
We should look into that more closely. 'Cause I think people use that a lot as a racquetball. I mean, it should be fixed and leave it open the way it is, and just fix it better. Just have a better windows. You can have better, windows more open, so people can see more. You can be able to see yourself better. I mean, we should look into it not just as storage area. Because, I mean, if we take that as storage area, we lose another piece of land that's in the park. I know you're tight on. I know you are very tight on the space, John. I know that the storage area. I know that very well. But maybe we can buy one of those portable.
That's what we're looking at. We have a budget allocation
and that way
for
you can
that.
move it around and set it in a place. I mean, we have a shed there. It should get a new one, a bigger one
Bigger one.
in that area there,
Yeah, we were looking into
and that would be a lot cheaper.
a 40 by 40 or 30 by 40.
Yeah.
Right.
More people
And that's a
use it, too.
budgeted item already,
If it
so,
had AC, a lot more people would use it. That's definitely probably the biggest complaint. You're in there for 2 hours, it's worse than a sauna.
Yes.
You come out drenched whether you're playing or not. Like, it's-
exactly.
But we have to keep in mind, if you put AC, then we have to pay the electric bill, so we got, more money will come out of the city budget to maintain that. So
Well,
that's things we gotta look at, we gotta balance all that.
It's $185,000 too.
Yeah, but,
'cause-
Yeah. that's-
yes, but the AC have to be paid every month,
Correct.
Right.
you know,
Yeah, adds an expense on top of the 185.
right, that expense gonna be there every month.
I mean, I get the nostalgia of it. Growing up there too, we'd play hide and seek. We'd hide in there, and I do get that people use it. A handful of people use it, but how can we get a better use of that space? And I do like the volleyball area idea.
Is that big enough for a volleyball area?
That I'm not sure.
I
It
don't
is?
think so.
Mr. Pena says it is.
Yeah, if you remove it.
If you remove that, it's wide enough and long enough for basketball, for volleyball area?
Yeah, we had one there in the past.
Do we have an approximate cost on what it would cost to remove it? Because I can imagine that would be also expensive. The walls are like 25 feet tall.
But we can add that into the expense of demoing the current gym and all that, correct? So we can do it around the same time. So
Correct.
now would be the
Yes.
time to do it if we wanted to.
Yeah,
go
we
that
could
route.
do a change order to that contract and add demolition costs, if you,
Yeah, we
Decide
get a
to
price from him
recommend-
To demolish.
right, right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for the handful of people that use it, but it's one of those things, what is better for the entire neighborhood? Like, is there a better use for it? Can we see more sports come to the area where kids can grow up playing volleyball now and learning that at the rec center as well?
Well, the only thing I could suggest, you got 90 days before we get actual plans for the building to start on the building. So within the next 90 days, take a survey of people that actually want to keep it or to the people that attend the park.
Sounds good. We can table this and then
I'd have to go to their house.
John Michael
you
just
have a-
volunteered to go to their house.
No, the people that come to the park. What would they rather see, the racquetball court there or a
Exactly.
volleyball court? Beach volleyball court?
Do you have
One
a,
thing I will say about the volleyball court being there, it creates a lot of traffic in that area. It's really
next
close
to
to
the
basketball court.
court, that too.
The building is now gonna extend further, so it's gonna create a lot of traffic. I'm not opposed to a volleyball court, I just don't know if that's the best area to that,
Location.
because we'd have to knock those, the pavers down too. It puts a lot of things very close to the basketball court.
And you
And
have
it
to
doesn't-
maintain it too.
And it doesn't leave a really easy pathway to the tennis courts. That's the only thing I can.
So
You
we'll-
can convert the basketball courts and put balls, because I've seen it before, and put volleyball nets, but that won't be no sand. Because at Tamiami, we used to have the tennis courts, and then we had the sand volleyball.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but you have to maintain that every day.
Right.
Yeah, it takes as much effort as a baseball field to maintain.
Yes. And one question about, because I've been there, the tennis, for a long time. I don't know how much money the city makes from the baseball, but I know that if you continue tennis courts, take one of the baseball fields out and continue the tennis courts, you can have a lot of money with the tennis. People will come, especially the people that are there, they probably even help you finance it too. You can make more money. I don't know how much money you make from the baseball, and the tennis courts, you don't have to maintain them. You don't have to be rigging the sand and the water, if you ever, just an idea for the future.
And another thing that makes money for you is a batting cage, but a real batting cage.
Okay.
I mean, there's not many around the county, and the ones that are available, their time slots are taken.
Oh, there you go.
I mean, I grew up playing baseball, and I actually played on this field. It doesn't get the use that it used to, I don't think. But maybe we can look into ways to bring that back. There are fields that are multi-purpose. They have football, soccer, baseball, where they have the lines on the field already, and you can use it for many different sports.
Okay.
I believe, don't they have an academy there that runs it? Yeah.
The field's rented every day.
It's rented
Yeah.
every
It
day.
is?
Yeah, there's a
Every day.
baseball academy.
Okay, perfect.
They've been trying to
Sundays.
push me out of there for the past 10 years, right, John? Every Thursday, they want to take it away.
Not me.
No, not you, I'm saying, they want to come in, they want to take it away.
John, is that the same for the little field across, the little
The
softball
field
field?
isn't big enough to consider it like two separate fields.
Yeah,
It's one field, and when the softball uses it, it's one field. It's not a big enough to hold two activities at one time.
Right.
Baseball uses it, but they only use
The
the
infield.
smaller kids or do infield practice on the small field. But they still don't even extend the bigger kids that far because it,
But can you see the softball field one day not being there and it being where you could play football and soccer and it's just grass and it has for every sport? Or is it getting that much use that you need both those fields?
I don't see a problem with how it is right now. Baseball's there twice a week, softball's there once a week, and we have a soccer academy that's there twice a week.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
On
it's
Tuesdays
fast.
and,
That's
on
good.
Tuesdays and
It
Fridays,
is.
and they even
Yeah.
wanna do Saturdays.
You,
Oh, that's
you guys
great.
play on Thursdays, right?
Yes.
Do you see? Because I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is because there's other parks that have softball tournaments and stuff like that. And I don't know if at some point we can get to where we're having these tournaments bring a lot of money as well.
They do.
So
I
The,
don't-
the problem with the tournament is that the city shut down at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
That's the main thing there, one of the reasons.
And I don't know if we're big enough, because
the field
Yeah.
is big enough, right?
the field,
Yeah.
first of all, second of all, we rent the pavilion on the weekends. To have an activity, a full baseball tournament 5 feet away is not ideal. I don't even rent the field for practices to be on that field while there's a party there, because it's just too much commotion in one area, and they're back to back.
Yeah.
Were you, Ivan, were you talking about maybe we can put a diagonal and do a softball field, football field across? You know, on what's the outfield between the two fields across like that?
Right.
I've seen it done in many parks. If there's the room, I don't know.
There's room for it. I've never had anybody come to the park and ask for a rental for a flag football league
No.
or anything.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we set it up in a way that starts to bring those types of crowds, because all these different tournaments, they bring revenue to the city as well.
But the
So-
thing is, it's used 5 days a week, right,
And
John?
maybe 6 now.
And sometimes 6.
So there's not an issue bringing the revenue in as far as the
Yeah.
rec center with sports.
We don't make a lot of money from these leagues.
No,
I
I
mean,
mean,
we have
make more than
program
we
income.
used to.
So for a
Right.
softball tournament, for instance,
And
it's-
remember that everything was closed down for COVID for 2 years, so things are coming back to a sense of normalcy now. So, and people are trying to reorganize their sports academy and get the kids to participate. So we haven't really looked at increasing rates in a while. We could, but I can tell you that if you put a batting cage, it's gonna be more attractive because you're going to make income from the rental of the field and you're gonna make income from the batting cages. And that you could do where it's in the same place where it's strategically located, maybe a different type of setting for a batting
Well,
cage.
ideally, the existing shed won't be there anymore, Mr. Penna. And
Ideally.
ideally, and then
soon
you
as
could
we get
extend, you could make a double batting cage where the batting cage is currently. at.
Right. Then you're talking about making some good money.
That's good.
One thing I've been trying to do this and not make money, but save money. You have done those lights 10 years ago. Those LED lights. I mean, if you change that to LED lights, you cut your electricity bill to put it about half what you're using right now. I don't know why it's taking so long to get those lights replaced. That's one thing doesn't
Well, this
bother
is
me.
part of this,
Yeah, nah,
this
well-
is part of this LWCF
Which
grant.
it will be done. It will be
that-
done this year or next year, or
This year.
Within the year.
within the year.
Hopefully within the year.
But doing those lights out, that would save a lot of money for the city.
And have we looked into renting it on the weekends? Because I'm sure there's a demand for the field usage.
The soccer is interested in renting it on the week. During a lot of COVID, the only use the park had was a lot of those rentals.
Yeah.
It doesn't make, but it makes a decent amount of money on that. It's every day, multiple hours, both academies. Well, yeah, both academies. Well, 3, tennis, soccer, and baseball.
Yeah. Because I think if we opened it to
Like
them,
it's
I mean, they'd be
nonstop. You drive by
interested
the
on
rec now and
Sundays
it's
even.
packed.
Even on Sundays, I could see, People
You
are
think
there.
so, but it doesn't,
No?
I don't get, you get calls now because of the lights, and we have lights, and people want lights.
Yeah.
But there's, I think things, athletics are structured differently. Like before, when I was a kid, every park had their own
Hours.
league and their own thing. But now it's just like one park has a league, and there's more academies now. So it's not so much the park running the league, it's an academy, and you just need a place to practice. Like the tennis academy uses us as their home, and they're there as much as they can be. And then, you know, they do other things, but they've done tournaments on the weekends before. It's just tough too because of parking. You do a tournament on the weekend, there's a party on the weekend. Where does everybody?
We have land limitations and we have parking limitations. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
our
forget
reality.
tournament. That's another thing. You drive by the park on look tomorrow. They have baseball, and that's just with a baseball academy with like 80 kids, and there's no parking.
It's packed.
Anybody else have any other ideas that we want to discuss? I
I got one. So I've noticed, I've been running around the city. I'm the dog guy, obviously, but everyone has signs on their own personal property. It's been a big issue with people in the buildings and people in the neighborhood walking around and their dogs defecating, you know, on the property. But we don't have an actual location for people to take their dogs. If you go to Cooper Park, no pets allowed.
And
The
they're
rec
still
center,
taking-
no pets allowed. So I don't know if we can find a location or if there's a location that exists where we can make a little corner so that people can walk over there and take their dogs, provide little bags, you know, like other cities do, so that people can pick up after their dogs and more importantly, like put them all in one place, you know. Because right now it's kind of a free-for-all and everyone just walks around the block. And I mean, I feel for the people that live in front of the buildings because I've seen, you know, just tons of people walking their dogs and, you know, they're not paying any attention. But I think if we were to make a set location, it would change that a little bit.
Madam Manager, wasn't the idea of the little stands that provide the poop bags, wasn't that brought up in the past?
That was discussed, and there was no decision taken because obviously these stations, you have to put them in the right-of-way area since you can't put them in front of a property on private property. And some of the residents wouldn't feel too comfortable to have a station there. We would have to find some strategic places, and it may not be as close as the closeness to the buildings. And I can tell you, one of the buildings has a doggy park already, two of them. They have a place for their dogs. And I can tell you for a fact, because I live here, Alex, and you know that for the longest time, it's not only coming from the buildings.
No, of
We
course.
have pet owners that are not being responsible for these animals. You know, if you take them out for a walk, you got to pick up after them, and it's not happening. So the commission recently passed an ordinance citing if our code enforcement officer or an employee of the city brings that complaint forward, we'll have the ability to find them, but it's very tough to enforce the ordinance. The new project in the pipeline also comes with a doggy park. The one where the Renaissance is that's gonna be like a health spa, a rehabilitation, and it does have a doggy park as part of that application.
And that's
So-
gonna be open to the public? West
No,
Miami
that is
residents?
strictly for the people who are going to reside there that are mostly senior citizens that have long-term issues, and they are able to bring their doggies with them, and they'll have an opportunity to use a park to take them to within their complex.
Okay.
So that will be a private, that was just for them.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's not for the
Like
city.
other one, like the one in the buildings as well.
right. Those are private.
Can you think of an area that we could potentially put a doggy park? Not necessarily.
There's a park, the little one by 18th Street.
Yeah.
I don't know how much
Lorraine.
use you have that.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
used to
a-
take my girls there when they were little,
Yeah.
and I walk by there and there's no one ever.
No
No
one
one's
there.
ever there.
Yes, it
It's
should be a
empty.
It
silent
gets
meditation.
used. It gets
It
used.
does get
Yeah.
used, but not at the level that the others. Yep. And I mean, maybe we should be looking at land acquisition versus initiating projects.
We
If
have it
we
there.
can And so it's in your capital improvement plan. And I think that would be maybe annexed to our existing parks so that we can grow our park areas. If we can buy up properties and create the venues for these projects to get built.
Where would this be at, Mr. Pena? It says the northern section of the city, requiring additional acreage for park space.
Trailer park,
Okay.
but we have to wait till they decide to develop.
And that would, obviously, you would have access from within the city to get into there? Okay.
Yes. Yes, that would be a condition of that, of whatever special use plan for plan development application that comes through.
The last idea that I have on my phone, just to discuss it for now and then continue going forward, it's gonna be a lot of money, I'm assuming, but has there ever been consideration to put a cover over the basketball courts? How they have with
There
the
was.
YMCA?
That was considered some time ago.
Yeah, we actually
Yes.
applied to the state for that and were rejected twice.
Right.
Yeah, it was not, they didn't have an appetite for that. Yeah.
So is it worth looking into again, even though it was rejected? Is there anything we could package it with to try to,
We can on the next cycle,
right, next?
not this cycle, the following cycle.
That's an expensive proposition. I think we looked at it and it was like $750,000 or
Very
something like that.
expensive.
If
Yeah.
my memory doesn't fail me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the other reason why it's probably not gonna score well, because they can do a lot more with that money.
What about shade triangles? So we have that covering in the Cooper Park, right? But I've seen in other areas, it's just a long, like, transparent, not transparent, but
Yeah, they're sales.
the sails, the shade shells. If they're strategically placed, the lights can still work in a way that at night you can see stuff, right? But the cost would be fractional compared to that. And we already have something to hook it up to, because the poles that surround the lights would actually be able to support that. I don't think it's a lot of weight or anything like that.
They're aesthetically
Yeah,
pleasing.
we would have to
Yeah.
have our engineers calculate that.
How do those hold up with storms and such?
They'd have to be taken down.
We don't take them down unless it's a hurricane, actual warning, but otherwise they stay up year round. They're designed for heavy winds.
I mean, we all grew up outside in a park. We didn't have a roof over our heads. It was a great time, but just thinking outside the box, trying to get things to bring our park, although it's amazing and the kids enjoy it, it's being ran by John Michael there to the best of his ability, and he's doing an amazing job with it. But I'm trying to see how we can bring it, you know, comparing it to other cities that have indoor facilities, let's say, which we don't have, but maybe putting a roof over it, then we could start to.
Well, like you said, something like it was done at Cooper Park. Is that what you have in mind, right?
I was thinking more. It's $750,000. It's a lot of money, but I was
Yeah.
thinking more so how the YMCA, or there's a park over here off
Robert
Flagler. What is it?
Robert King.
Robert
Robert
King.
King.
Robert King High.
Yeah.
So you're under a roof, and it's,
Right.
you know, you have the different basketball tournaments and stuff like that. It's a lot of money, but just an idea. Again,
Yeah.
we're just throwing them out
Also, it's
here.
good for jump summer camp. I mean, you can have the kids in the shade there instead of sitting in the sun sometimes.
Yeah, but they stop the events when there's a storm coming.
Right.
It's a metal structure, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
the
It
Boys
looks
and
like
Girls Club.
like a hanger, like a hanger.
I've played in Robert King Park, and I would advise against a low ceiling, as John Michael can attest to it. You can't shoot from certain parts on the court.
And the
Yeah,
It's art, right? So unless it's built with basketball in mind.
Right, it'll be built to cover our
Yeah.
basketball courts.
Yeah,
so
but I
it'll be-
think code actually doesn't allow a structure that high unless it's fully enclosed, and then the cost is gonna be even more astronomical. Cause like, the Robert King High is a perfect example. It can only be so tall to withstand hurricane force winds. After that, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but that's my understanding. After you go above a certain height, then it would have to be enclosed in order.
Because I know the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, they all have a similar structure.
But
and
is
it's
it-
over a basketball court too.
Yeah,
so.
I'd have to see them, I don't.
Any other ideas to discuss? And then I think the main one going forward is to talk about the racquetball court.
Well,
to
we-
see,
Can we talk about the rec center a little more or no?
Sure.
The baseball field. Questions, the lights, the lighting's gonna be, we're gonna have a new poles on those lights, same poles gonna stay?
Same poles.
Same poles?
No, well, the ones at home plate are going up,
Those two are going up? Those two are
55.
high.
Yeah.
Okay, another question, do we have any money for maintenance on that field? That field is in terrible shape. The grass area is very in bad shape, it's got holes, it's got areas that real deep, something like that. I mean, is any money set up for that? At least, fill it up with sand or whatever it needs to be done, not replace the whole grass, but just bring it up to a level. Is anything in the works for that, any money for
Yeah,
that?
we'll look at it. If there's holes, we'll fill them in with sand.
Remember that used to be a rock pit, you know
Yeah, so
that.
it keeps sinking.
And so it keeps sinking
I
every
know,
time it
that's what I-
rains, and
and
that's
what I
the
say,
weight of the
I need to
rain.
bring and maintain
Yeah.
it, because
Yeah.
it's, especially on the outfield, it's got holes where you're running and, well, you can attest to that, he plays out there all the time. And one leg goes up, one that goes down, because he's getting the hole out there. So we need to address that and look at us, as soon as
Okay.
you can.
Another question I have on the rec center, while we're on the subject, is with these new proposed plans for the tennis courts, are there any seating for people viewing the tennis? So we have that academy there, and all the parents go. Is there gonna be a place for them to sit down as there was before?
No.
No?
No, the seating would have to be on the outside of the fence with the movable bleachers.
Movable bleachers, okay.
Yeah, because there's a driveway there, you can't.
And you have space there.
build nothing
There's
there.
space.
Yeah, but the only time the driveway is used is during the morning. There's
Right.
nothing there at night.
Oh, Juan, one more thing. Do you think it'll be possible we have a chance? Some of those trees are so long around the lights, it's covering a lot of the lights. Even though we have a lot of light bulbs that burn, and you have the trees that kind of making shade at night. So, you think we'll be able to trim those trees, some of them?
They will be there trimming trees tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're getting ready.
You read
to
my
do
mind,
them. Yep.
No, we got the truck back and it's working full function.
We have a long list of,
So use
trees
it quick
to
before it
trim.
breaks down again.
One thing that I wanted to go back on something that Chairman Chavez mentioned here today, to bring some kind of art to the park. If the decision of the board and finally the decision of the commission is to keep the racquetball court, and if we're not able to do the splash pad project soon, I think we have a very valuable wall facing,
So
I'm terrible with directions,
South.
but south, where we can maybe introduce art there in that wall. And I think that would be very attractive. It would really make our park stand out. So it's a consideration based on your, desire to bring art into the city. We've tried to do this for a long time. And, maybe an artist will work with us. I mean, you have schools like New World Academy, and you have very good art schools in the area that we can, do something to make that area look much nicer and get into a little bit of a artistic mode there. And I think it really will beef up the aesthetics of the park. Just food for thought.
I agree. I like that idea a lot.
Yes.
Before I forget.
Sit down.
Too late.
Devil's advocate.
There was a gentleman that grew up with me at the park. We've spoken about this years ago. Johnny Robles is his name. And he mentioned to me he would like to do something like that. If the opportunity ever presented itself, he would love to do that. So just wanted to throw that out there before I forget. He grew up on 18th right there by the reg. He went to elementary with me. So you already know he's a really good person.
And he's an artist?
Yeah.
Wow.
He used to draw Ninja Turtles and I would color them. And we would sell them for $3 at Sylvania.
That's so
Sure.
cute.
So you're gonna color the wall after he draws
No,
it?
no, those days.
We're gonna put
I
Ninja
don't have
Turtle,
the crayons are not gonna hold
Donatello
up
and-
anymore.
Donatello and company.
But here, I'll show it to you now. He's really, like, he's done huge projects and stuff. So,
I like that. I like
Me
that
too.
idea.
Yeah, me too.
Art in public places.
Yeah. They're in time for
There
that.
there are some regulations that we need to follow because it is art in public places. And you probably have to have a committee in place to review the art that's gonna go there and,
I recently got the
It's-
wording, the specific wording for that from Miami Beach and South Miami.
mhm,
So I was gonna look into,
art in public places. And we have to follow certain guidelines to get art into the city of West Miami, you know, to bring it, to bring it as a project for the first time. And following that, there are certain guidelines. And I think you have it, Juan, from last time we looked into it. So I'm sure I have something on it. I don't know if the regulations have changed, but there's a process to introduce art in public places. So,
Good idea.
so we have the FERDAP applications that we wanna move forward with. We have some ideas that we've discussed. Zach mentioned the basketball hoop, it's crooked there, and then also the issues with the baseball field.
the field.
And then we'll table a lot of this conversation for next time. We set a meeting date now, Madam Manager?
Yes, sir. All right, so we are good with the FERDAP. I think, let's talk about your next meeting. An idea that I'd like to just suggest to you all, would you like to have a workshop with the commission to tackle some of these issues and start prioritizing? And then, obviously, the commission will take action on those
I think it'll be better for them to be here, to be included.
in a workshop,
For sure.
of a joint workshop between the Recreation Advisory Board and the West Miami City Commissioners. Would you like that?
I think it'd be beneficial.
That would be great, yes,
Everybody, you get a buy-in from everyone.
yes.
Right. To know what we're gonna move forward on, so it doesn't
Right.
hit a speed
Right.
bump when it gets to the commission.
We could do do a Wednesday, like at 6 PM. Does that time frame work for you all?
Works for me.
Prior to a regularly scheduled 7:30 meeting. And that'll guarantee that most of our commissioners will make it here, on that date. Because they've already got it on their schedule. Their calendar is open. So, you want to do this in September, or you want to wait until after the budget is approved, Commissioner Chavez? And wait until early October to do this, or do you want to, move faster?
Well, so being that we already have what we're gonna move forward with FERDAP, is there anything here that we're gonna try to sneak into the budget potentially?
We've got some maintenance issues. I'm going to be addressing the commission individually at the first tentative budget hearing on reserving money for equipment costs for the weight room.
The weight room coming?
So we can start planning for that. And along those lines, I think I've mentioned it to you. I had a longtime neighbor of mine, Anna Raymond. She used to live on 60th and 12th. She has offered to address the city. She used to be the regional manager for all of Bally's and LA Fitnesses for years. She did this for about 40 years of her life. And she said she would be willing to come in pro bono and make obviously some professional recommendations as to the type of equipment that the city may need, and talk to the board about that. She moved outside the city, but she's like a block down the street from West Miami. Her parents lived here for a very long time, and so she's offered to come in and give us some suggestions, if you would, for our wellness center. So if you want to bring that speaker to the next meeting, I
The
could
sooner
try
the better.
to.
The
I
sooner
could
the
try,
better.
so that we can start checking off our boxes of where we're going, how we're moving forward.
The gym is gonna be for the weights only, or you're gonna have classes there too?
That's a good question. All these things have to be worked out.
Because you can
And
also make
believe it or
money with
not,
that too.
It takes time to implement all of these programs and bring this, so that when it does open, we're not behind the 8 ball. We have made plans.
What was your friend's name again, Madam Manager? Sorry.
Ana Raymond,
I think with Miss Raymond here, that she can help us figure out the best usage for that space.
Right.
To see what type of equipment, so we're not on top of each other, and maybe we could have classes.
But
so, going back to the calendar, I think you're gonna need a Wednesday. We have a commission meeting on the 6th of September, which is a Tuesday. We have a regular commission meeting on September 7th, and we could do that at 6 o'clock.
Wednesday, September 7th,
Right.
it's fine by me.
Don't we have the tentative budget?
No, that's on the 6th.
So the day prior, we have a meeting, and
Right.
then we'll have another meeting, regular meeting
The,
on the
yeah, the,
7th?
the commission hasn't canceled the meeting on the 7th.
Okay, not yet, okay.
So we could do the 7th, or we could do, the 21st is our final budget hearing, that's, so I'd like to just leave that date open in case any commissioner wants to come and talk to me at the last minute about any budget items that they would like to discuss at that meeting. So then following that meeting, we're talking about Wednesday, October 5th. Would be the next available Wednesday before a commission meeting.
The only thing I have on my calendar here is Yom Kippur. Whatever that is.
That should not, that holiday, I mean, it shouldn't stop the group from meeting unless there's, conflict with schedules.
So I mean, I'm fine with September 7th unless there's a conflict because of the tentative budget hearing on Tuesday.
No, that's Tuesday, and
Right, but if-
everything else that we gotta do following that is done during the day.
Right, as long as the 7th doesn't get canceled, the commission
Right.
meeting.
Correct.
And then, other than that, I'm fine with the October 5th as well.
You all decide.
I'm not in town on the 7th,
Yeah, I mean,
but if that means. you're
So
not on the
October
7th
5th,
either.
then they're not in
October
town on
5th.
September 7th, so October 5th is fine with,
October 5th is perfect.
But that will be after the budget, right? After the.
Correct.
That will be a new year, the new.
New fiscal
budget,
year.
New fiscal year, so.
Correct.
Don't we wanna talk before this fiscal year ends, or, that's what we're saying?
Would you be
well,
able-
that was my initial question, to see if we can get some things budgeted for, but
What's the?
Right, we tried to get the equipment budget this year, right, to go through this fiscal year, right, for next year.
Yes,
So if we do it on October 5th, we still have time for
No.
including the budget? No, we don't, that's what I'm saying, we gotta do it before October. September 30th is where the budget ends. I mean, this
actually, if
fiscal
you
year
could do it
ends.
before then, that's even better, because I have a tentative budget on the 6th.
See?
And everything needs to we're trying to wrap up everything that needs to be addressed by then, so that we can, because we have advertisement requirements, and I have to sit down with every member of the city commission starting next week, and trying to get everything that we need to incorporate in the budget,
One
before-
question, does the city have money for this
The
project?
recreation center, and that's
Yes.
your committee,
Yes.
has a reserve account of about 320. I'll
About
tell you
$300,000.
exactly. 300, a little bit more than 300.
well, I wasn't too concerned with having the meeting before the budget, because we are gonna budget for gym equipment regardless.
I'm going to set aside for the gym, for the wellness center equipment.
Right.
Yes.
So that's why it
Okay.
doesn't have to be, because we can discuss with, I forget her name again, I'm sorry, with your friend about what,
Ana Raymond.
right, we can discuss what kind of equipment to get, but we're already gonna have it budgeted for.
Okay.
That was the main concern right there.
And the money you put in reserves, you can, during the course of the year, you can redesignate that.
Right. Right. So if it's easier for
So-
everyone to meet after the budget, we will have the equipment
Yeah.
budgeted for regardless.
We have $341,275 as of September 30th of last year. So we won't know until probably November 1st, until we close the books, how much more we're going to add to that reserves. And obviously, we have to leave some reserves because God forbid,
Yeah.
you know, we should always
Murphy's
leave
Law.
a rainy day account.
All right, so if everyone's okay with it, October 5th, again, to reiterate that we're gonna have the gym equipment budgeted for, so there's no urgency there, correct?
Well, it's some gym equipment. I have no idea what commercial grade equipment will cost. Hopefully, we can find some partners along the way that will contribute to this, and maybe we can do something for these partners. There are companies out there, and this is something that Anna could probably direct us in the right direction. She has all these contacts that she's made over the last 4 decades, and she's been in the wellness industry for a very long time. So it could well, you know, we could get lucky and find some partners there to help us.
Could we possibly lease that equipment? That stuff
That's
that's
a
constantly
great
changing?
question. She
Yeah.
can answer that.
Yeah.
I am clueless
Yeah.
on wellness centers.
Because although it would cost money, it would also come with, you know, if it breaks, someone
Of
would come and
course.
fix it, and that's a specialty.
And
too.
replace it
And
over time.
replace it, exactly.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
So October 5th at 6 p.m., right? Here, the Commission chambers.
October 5th, everybody say aye?
Aye.
Cool.
Got
I
it.
wanna thank you guys all for being here too. Obviously, taking time away from your family and coming here, it's important. We have to get things like this done. You guys represent the city and the
We are the
citizens,
city.
so, you know, hopefully we can get some good things brought our way. So, thank you guys.
So,
Motion to
And-
adjourn?
yes.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.